Yeah, you're right. Damn, I wish I would have.
That was good.
Yeah, I could do a quick summary though.
Okay.
You know, Freemasons, Children of the Sun, People of the Sun, the Illuminated ones. We just look in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. You can just confirm that Israelite means the illuminated ones. Illuminated just means light. Whenever you see a reference to sun, light, that means they're, especially in holy books, it's referencing the fact that one has received divine inspired information and has ascended. Um, so that's all that means. We also talked about how Israelite, that's the true intention of when you're saying our people were the Israelites, the ancient Israelites. Just know we're saying the ancient people that illuminated, the illuminated ones, the Freemasons, which we know are the Moors on record with empires in these areas. Then we do the timeline of when they're speaking of the Israelite, it's going to be time of our empire. We could trace it to a civilization of Moors and a geographical landmass and what they were doing. That's the importance of knowing history and law. Because now you got the measure, you got the tools. And when something not adding up, it's because you got the tools. Get online. All right, so continuing, get the screen out the way. It is a peculiar coincidence that the Egyptian word Freemason means children of the sun. So in Latin, summum bonum, the highest good. That is, sons of light, a term applied to those who had been received into the ancient Egyptian mysteries. The word Fre meant the sun, and Mas was child. According to Gerald Massey, the foremost Egyptologist in his book, The Book of Beginnings, Volume 1 and 2, he states the name Freemason is derived from the ancient metaneter Fremesin, meaning child of the light or the sun, right? Because light and sun are interchangeable, like I said earlier. It's the same expression. So Israelite, Freemason, all these nicknames were given to our people were Moors in certain areas. And it was a sultanate, a khanite, a khalifa running the show in this area. Urban affairs up. Where was that?
Here, the sons and daughters.
Okay, the sons and daughters of Ra, or the sons and daughters of the light, are the radiant one, luminous beings who have ascended to become as Ra, traversing the celestial plane of Nut and the bark of millions of years, standing in the company of immortals, Netaru, our ancestors, giving command and direction. There are those who have perfected their character and spirit, and thereby reclaim their divinity in Asar or Asar. That's why in law dictionary definition of nationality, it signifies you have a culture and a certain character, a noble one. Noble character is synonym to divinity. So Moorish science encompasses, see how much Moorish science encompasses? Once you know the uncut, once you get the stepped on religions, you say, oh, this is all just principles of Moorish science. No matter if it's called the Egyptian Book of the Dead, no matter if it's called whatever it's called, you know, once you know the source, you're gonna be all right. It's Moorish culture. The children of Ra, Amen Ra, are also called the children of Israel. Now we know why. That's why we read that definition in the metaphysical Bible of Israel. The children of Ra, the children of the sun, the children of Israel. But now we know it's not just we're not praising the sun. We're illuminated. The sun, light is a synonym expression to represent your illumination or a community of people that were illuminated, i.e., the Israelites, i.e., the Freemasons, i.e., the Moors that had empires and had a culture. Don't get rocked to sleep like these are different people arguing over you supposed to be this, all on Crenshaw talking about you need to, you don't be hollering at people, screaming at people. So this is more, for one, it's more intellectual, it's more sound, it's in harmony, and it's the truth. We need to know this so we can explain it to our brothers and sisters for unity purposes. The story of the children of Israel, as told in Hebrew mythology, is taken from the Pert M. Haru text misnomer, The Book of the Dead, by E.A. Wallace Budge, and represents the cosmological journey of Ra, or the sun. The Tamaray, or Egyptian, once again, hammering home the truth. Just say Tamaray if you say Tamaray over Egypt, right? Because now you can tie back to that terra, ta, short for terra, land. Moray is Latin for Moor. So you say in the land of the Moors when you say Tamaray, a more ancient tongue is better. It gets straight to the truth. The land of the Moors. Oh, so the Moors nickname Egyptians. Whenever they say in the ancient Egyptian, they didn't say in the Moors. Oh, so the Moors mystery system. Oh, they're not the Egyptian mystery system school? Oh, it's the Moors. Oh, like the modern university was the center of the organized culture, and candidates entered it as the leading source of ancient culture. However, unlike the modern so-called university, the ancient Egyptian mystery system was a 40-year-old mastery school, which really taught universal principles. According to Heichmann, the Egyptian mysteries had three grades of students. One, the mortals, i.e., probationary students who were being introduced or instructed, but who had not yet experienced the inner vision. So that's the first wave, the mortals, probationary students who were not being instructed, who were being instructed, but who had not yet experienced the inner vision. The second wave, intelligencies, those who had attained the inner vision and had received mind or gnosis. The third wave, the creators or sons of light. So now we know the sons of light. Once you're called that, once you reach that, that's a degree. That's the adept, right? We got in our community, we had initiates, intermediates, and we had adepts. So that's how we got these communities, these secret societies, because our people would be like, oh, who's ready to receive the light? They can come into the mystery school. That's how that, but it wasn't a secret society in the sense that we got to reduce as it's reduced to today, right? But if you're ready to receive, you're ready to receive. And we can build communities with people that are ready to receive, i.e., the mystery school, i.e., the temple, i.e., the Moorish Science Temple, right? Okay. So the adept degree, the creators are sons of light who have become identified with or united with the light through spiritual consciousness. According to 33-degree Mason Manly P. Hall's book, Freemasonry of the Ancient Egyptians, quote, it is now generally acknowledged that the Egyptians of all the ancient peoples were the most learned in the occult sciences of nature. The wisest philosophers from the nations visited Egypt to be initiated in the sacred mysteries by the priests of Thebes, Memphis, and Hermopolis. So that's cross-reference. That'd be an example of cross-referencing. Now you know when you see Egyptian what it really means. We already know we had high priest, right? The high priest of Anu, like we put in the chat. Anu, Anunnaki. The definition of Moor is the high priest of Anu in the Egyptian hieroglyphic
Mm.
dictionary, what they call the Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionary. Moor is the high priest of Anu. So if we're talking the Anunnakis, we're talking the Moors. We're talking N- New Nubians. We're talking about the Moors. Anu Nubians. We're talking about the Moors. It's not different people. All right. That's all right. So Moors are Muslims only in the most ancient sense of the word. For example, Sufis of mystical al-Islam means in Arabic the woolly hair. So the word Sufi means woolly hair. When you look up Sufi, you see that's the only branch of Islam that's dealing with mysticism, but it's still a nickname. The ancient Sufis were Moors. The ancient Sufis were people practicing the culture of the Freemasons, the Sons of the Light. They had woolly hair. So the foreigners observing, like, oh, right. So it's all context. We need to know all these things so we can put things in context for the people properly. A reference to the people that brought the ancient mysteries. So Sufis are known as the Moors or the Muslims, the Sufis that brought the ancient mysteries. The Egyptians are the ones that brought the ancient mysteries. Get the point? Same people. Let's go down some here. Right here. The word Muslim is derived from Metaneter Mesra or Mesrim. The letters L and R are interchangeable, as well as the fact that the vowels are interchangeable also. Even though most Egyptologists use the letter or vowel E in translation. Thus, Mesrim or Muslim, or today Muslim, in Arabic, Hebrew, the metaneter Mesra is called Misr. So Mizraim or Mizraim, right? Mizra, the brother in. All right, so Mizra is the derivative of the Coptic word Mizor, which is derived from Mizra or Mizura, meaning birth of Ra or the birth of the sun or the birth of light. See that this is why we say Muslim is more archaic and it has more legs to it. And it gives you the ancient uh practices. So Muslim is not only an acronym, muscles, oxygen, skeletal system, ligaments, electrical system, and being magnetic. The fetus that gets built in 3 trimesters. It's also activating the Christ. The Muslim with intention puts his or herself in circumstances to activate the Christ, which is ancient culture. That's what we're here to do. Mizrahi and the nickname Egypt was so they use Egypt also called Mizraim. It's also called Tamaray. All these things are going back to people that's making these empires were about activating the Christ, activating the light, children of the sun, people that have reached the adept degree of Freemason or Freemason or children of the light. Let's fast forward to Noble Jew Ali, higher self. Saying the same thing, your higher self is the light. That's why Noble Jew Ali is Buddha, Muhammad, Yahshua, all in one, saying the same message. This is why we honor all prophets, because it's the same message. You go activate the light, link up with people that's in pursuit of doing just that and build communities with them. Now we got these genius citizens that Noble Joe Ali's talking about, compared to the people that sleep, right? We looked at as geniuses. We the high priest in real time today. Muslim. Muslim. This is why Noble Joe Ali is using the term Muslim. It's tied to something ancient. This is a title of Ra, operating through the sun during the summer solstice. Now we're talking about the above aspect. Everything I was talking about was the below of how the people having a carnal spirit, having a carnal experience need to ascend to the light. But if we're talking about from the above, we're talking about what's happening in the stars that correspond to the children of the light. We have the above without external exoteric. And esoterically, we have below, within, or the eternal, or the internal, is the Kundalini Shakti, reaching its apex to the peak or top of the head, activating the soul, or the soul of Ra, or Asar, or Osiris. As long as you know what it means, it's okay to, that's okay. Just don't get rocked to sleep like these are just gods, different gods and all that. They all mean the same thing. Embedded in the pineal gland, a set, meaning throne, called by French philosophers Descartes, or the seat of the soul. Pineal gland is also called the seat of the soul. We do have another demonstration, so I think I'm going to skip down some more. So Miss Kingsley states every West African tribe has a secret society. Every free man has to pass through the secret society of his tribe. If during this education the elders of the society discover that a boy is what is called in Calabar and in Buptum, a person who can see spirits or see the light, they advise that he should be brought up to the medical profession. The old Heshita, or wise men of Egypt, who that? Now we know, right? Okay. Indicated that man may become co-worker with both nature and divinity. Could be a man. So the ancient ones, our ancestors, understood that it's imperative that the human carnal man or woman be in harmony with nature and divinity on those higher planes, if he will, because you have the will to do that. You have the will to stop eating certain things. You have the will to stop doing XYZ to bring the best version of yourself out. You have the willpower. Either you gonna fall to your carnal self or you gonna win. But you got the will. He may sit in the councils of destiny and help to shape the progress of his race, of the race. Or he may crawl like a worm and be trodden under the foot till through misery and pain he struggles to the light. So you're gonna enter the light because you didn't heard the light and you like, okay, I'm called to do this. This my path. Or you're gonna keep ignoring the signs and get beat up and then enter the light. But you're gonna enter the light, especially if you've been called. You're not called. Everybody don't get called. See here. So much heat in here. I know the brother got a demonstration up. He got a demonstration coming up. So let me. I'm gonna say this for next week. I'm gonna stop right here for this particular demo because it's just another aspect I wanted to get into. I don't want to stay too caught up on that slide. So let me get to my next slide and then pass the baton to the good brother. So let's look into some ancient practices and compare them to the holy books of today and how it's been misrepresented. So when we're saying anoint, every time you hear this in the Bible, typically we're talking about activating the Christ, because that's what happens when you activate. You secrete this oil that's called the Christ, uh, BMT or NN dimethyltryptamine, the mind. I butchered it, I know. Pinoline. So we're saying pineal, but it's this oil pinoline. And the holy breath, the three feasts and one release, which um, when you start talking about the origin of fasting, what that does for the body to reach these levels of secretion. That was the whole point anciently for the fasting. The posture in which most of our people that profess to be Muslim, how they pray, that posture is a yoga pose to get more, oxygen to the brain easier. Deep breathing exercises as well to activate the Christ. Typically, it's in harmony with different transits or times of the sun, point to the sun during the day and paying homage to that, what the sun does for the earth. Now, let's go to A, the great birth of Heru, or the Christ, December 21st. Burn white candle. B, the great trials, or the Passover of Haru, Christ, over soot, March 21st. Burn green candle. Great renunciation, Heru, light, daytime, over soot, June 21st. Burn gold candle. Great ascension, passing, remembrance, celebration, living relatives, ascended family, friends, masters, and fellow travelers, September 22nd. Burn a black candle, then burn a white candle. The reason I'm reading these is because if you don't know this background, you jump to the Bible, you're gonna get caught up in the Christ story and this whole Jesus thing when that has a origin. The birth of Heru is the birth of the Son. The birth of the Son is the birth of the Christ. That's an internal activation. These are degrees that you must reach, but it's also as above corresponded to the solstices and the equinox and what the sun does for the planet during these times. Hibernation in the winter months, all the nutrition is in the roots. You need see in the cold, you need to know that's more science. When it's cold, you need to know that the nutrients is in the roots of plants because it's underground hibernating. In the spring, you need to know the nutrients is came up to the leaves and the fruit on the top. This why I'm thinking about that. I just wanted to add that all farmers know this. All farmers practice more science. They get in tune with the moon cycle when they plant. They get in tune with Venus patterns, or what they say the lunar calendar and the Venus calendar when they're planting. All right. Um, let's get into some laws of Mayat. Just to show we just talking more science. Mayan, Mayats. These are nicknames of our people that practice balance. And this is actually Islam. Islam is to bring peace. Mayat is to bring law and order, harmony. Harmony brings peace. Mayat in Islam is a synonym. First law is to show love. Oh, ain't that the first principle? Love, truth, love. right? Once again, in the children's book that Noble Jew Ali made in the 101s, a 101 questionnaire for children. That's the full title. It's not just the 101s, it's actually for children. He's letting you know love is the first principle. He's letting you know this is an old time religion. Now we seeing how old it is, right? We talk about the Anunnakis and draw the correlations about Nu and the Nubians and the ancient Egyptians being Moors, and but he just said that in one word, or one phrase. This is the old time religion. I just did it. He just said it in one word. I'm telling you what he told you in a more long about way for the past 40 minutes. It's an old time religion. All right. So first law is to show love without discrimination. Love arises spontaneously when hatred and anger and other forms of selfish and negative thoughts are absent. So you gotta master your lower self. What's your lower self? Everything that brings harm, lewdness, low vibrational. You have to master that. Hatred, anger. You gotta master that to get to the love degree. That's an adept degree. If you can stay in the love vibration, if you can stay there to the point where you'll protect that space, you've risen to another degree. Because most people on the planet has have not attained that, but it is attainable though. What Yahshua would say, what I can do, you can do, because you can. It's up to you. That's why community does help. People that are striving to be in their higher self, being around like-minded people helps the process. Right. The second law is to hurt no one and help all. Jesus figuratively summed up the Ten Commandments, which was summed up from 42, 77, 147, um, negative confessions of Mayat. So that's something you would need to have read. They summed it up into the one commandment: do unto others as you will have them do to you. In other words, as your parents has told you, I am sure on numerous occasions, treat people the way in which you would like to be treated. This is beyond name, physical birth, given that it's not referenced one galactic name, race, creed, color, nationality. So these are principles, cliche statements that tie back to a Maya culture. You know, third law is to work towards total inner and outer peace. How do you maintain inner peace with yourself and peace outer peace with the people that you're dealing with? And link that, right? That's Mayat. Islam, peace, Mayat, Islam. Salam means peace, Mayat, balance, order, and unity. Right? How do you maintain that with a higher self? Right? If you practice meditation daily, then gradually over the years, without straining to be perfect, you will become less and less centered, and the natural love for others will arise within you. Thus, with changing the inner world of oneself, you automatically change the outer world, right? Because now you have a different perception of the world. See, once you get the truth, once you get the light, the way you look at the world outside of you is different. So when people look at you, they're gonna see a different vibration, different glow. You talking different. Your intentions are different. What's important to you is different. Your demonstration is different every day. So I'm actually gonna yield the floor to the good brother. But I will do want to open the floor for any thoughts, statements, and questions before the brother Kyle gets into his demonstration. All right, so Kyle, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first email, get that out. Columbus and Zarco. Let me know when you can see the screen, y'all.
Yeah, we can see
Okay. You got it.
it. If you want, you can scroll down to where the finger is. Yup. So basically, just some background about the presentation I'm giving is I was reading this book. I got this book like a year ago. It's called 1421, The Year China Discovered America. All right. And so I was looking for, was in here thumbing through. There's a part in this that I'm going to present too that actually kind of alludes to the Spaniards pursuing the Moors after we were expelled out of Spain, and they pursued us back to our homelands, tying that back into Morocco. But when I was looking into that, I came across the story about Christopher Columbus, and I started picking at it. And so this is what I came up with. So first, I'm gonna shed some light, kind of segue into it, and just read a couple of passages. So it says, Antillia was indeed very well known to the Portuguese. They had settled there in 1431 and were still there when Columbus set sail in 1492. But his knowledge of the Americas went far further. By his own evidence, he knew of the Strait of Magellan in the south and the coast of northeast Brazil. He had seen Mape Mundi and spheres showing the Atlantic. He also knew well that China and the Spice Islands could be reached by sailing eastwards around the Cape of Good Hope. And the Cape of Good Hope, that's at the southern tip of Africa, of the continent, of what we know it to be today. For Christopher and his brother Bartholomew were both present when Diaz reported to the king that he had rounded the Cape of that latitude. Columbus was hell bent on gaining fame and glory by sailing westwards for China and the Spice Islands. Columbus certainly saw the 1428 master chart of the world. This is corroborated in a number of ways. In notes on the 1513 Piri Reis map, which credit Columbus with knowing that there were only 2 hours of daylight in the far south, and Columbus's letter to the King of Portugal, in which he writes about lands in South America, a letter written before the Portuguese explorers had set sail for that continent, and in his notes inscribed on the inside flap of his own copy of Marco Polo's book about his voyage from China to India by sea. In short, Columbus knew that China could be reached by sailing west about. Toscanelli's letter. You can push over to the next showing, brother. Toscanelli's letter, or by sailing east about. No, 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 not the next presentation, but the next photo. My fault. It's in the same thread. Yeah. So if you just scroll one down. Yeah. He must have known from the 1428 world map that the east about voyage was the shorter, right? So Bartholomew Columbus remained in Portugal as a member of what part you got it on? Yeah, and then scroll down one more, right there where my finger is at. Yeah. So Bartholomew Columbus remained in Portugal as a member of the team improving the Portuguese maps. And when new evidence came in from the voyages of discovery, in 1487 through 1488, Diaz pushed on further down the African coast and reached what we call the Cape of Good Hope. In 1473, the Portuguese had discovered how to calculate latitude from the sun's inclination, so Diaz was able to put the latitude of the Cape of Good Hope at 34 degrees 22 south. Both Bartholomew and Christopher knew this correct latitude. Columbus's plan for a voyage westwards were now in desperate trouble, for the Portuguese were on the verge of opening up the route to India round the Cape of Good Hope. Unless he acted quickly, his chances of glory were over. At this time, the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella had begun their assault on the last Moorish enclave in Spain, south of the Sierra Nevada mountains around Granada. Columbus had no chance of extracting funds from the Portuguese, who were concentrating on the easterly route to China, and knew that his only chance lay with the Catholic monarchs, who did not have the 1428 chart, and thus did not know that the shorter route lay east about. It was therefore in Columbus's interest to persuade Ferdinand and Isabella that the quickest route to China lay westwards. This, in my submission, is the motive for the forgery and theft Christopher and Bartholomew Columbus now perpetrated. Their timing was extraordinarily fortunate, for in 1492, Granada had fallen and the Catholic monarchs wished to extend the pursuit of the Moors overseas. Columbus's plan to sail west about for China would fall on receptive ears if he could persuade Ferdinand and Isabella that his plan was realistic and that it offered the chance of reaching the Spice Islands before the Portuguese. So, all in all, this brother actually knew the route, a quicker route to India, but was not revealing that to Spain. Instead, he had other plans, and so he got real comfortable with the royal family in Spain. But I'm also show how he did that as a secret agent. So this is what I found. So I got to kind of thumb it around, and I was like, damn. The only other name I've heard of Christopher Columbus was Cristobal Colon. And so when I was looking through Cristobal Colon or looking for his other alias, just picking around, this is what I came and found. So if you scroll up to the next portion, so Christopher Columbus, he has a couple of aliases, which one is Cristobal Colon or Colombo, but his real name is Salvador Fernandez Zarco, right? Um, he was of mixed noble and Jewish blood. So, what is a mixed noble? A mixed noble is in reference to a bloodline. It refers to an individual or a lineage that is not solely derived from a noble family, but also includes non-noble ancestry. So the Jewish blood that he was that ties to his lineage is the Sephardic Jews, which in that area, the Sephardic Jews were in the Iberian Peninsula. So that's Spain, Portugal, North Africa. So if you scroll down just real quick, just to give kind of like a that picture right there. You scroll up, yeah, that picture is more so likely you can see that the shading in this picture. I'm not sure if this is like a picture in a museum, but just to give like a visual that we all see the melanin in them, the brownish tint as well. Um, but if we scroll back up, in reading, it'll show you here that the history of Salvador Fernandez Arco, he was a secret agent for King John II, right? And he was actually sent to divert the attention away from the Spaniards purposely on their route to India. So basically, he and his brother concealed information pertaining to the fastest route. It is suggested he spent some years seeking financial assistance from Spain, being from Isabella and Ferdinand. And after the last stronghold of the Moors was defeated, Spain sought to protect them. So um, he had good reason to be over there and talking to the Spaniards and trying to find his way to where he was trying to find his way to. So on top of that, on the mixed noble part, if we go back and to the email, well, not that one. Let me see. Can we swap over to the other email that says Moranos?
Okay.
So I was watching this presentation and they were showing how they refer to us as Moranos. But before I get into that, I got this book called Dogs of God: Columbus, the Inquisition, and the Defeat of the Moors. And this is just tying into the Jewish blood being the Sephardic Jews will be Sephardic Moors, and being able to show that. And I wanted to show how during that time period we were persecuted, and there was a couple of different code names that we had as well in history. So one of them will be a Marrano, which it shows you blatantly. It shows you in medieval Spain, a Marrano is a Christianized Jew or Moor, especially one who merely professed conversion in order to avoid persecution. And which that would tie in back into this book that I got, Dogs of God, Columbus, the Inquisition, and the Defeat of the Moors, where I'm gonna just read a short passage. It says 3 weeks later, Toledo's rebels issued a second pronouncement called the Sentencia Estatua, or Judgment and Statute. Jews, it proclaimed, were the central evil of Castilian society. Conversion to Christianity could not mask their perfidy. The conspiracy of the conversos aimed to kill, quote unquote, all the old Christians in the city and transfer the city into the hands of his enemies, end quote. Among the other inflammatory provisions, all conversos were henceforth barred from public office and denied the right to give testimony in court. The prohibitions applied not just to the living, but to their future offspring. To underscore their seriousness, the rebels hanged the bodies of several conversos in the public square, including the town's leading converso. So converso basically just means converted. So basically, we were still practicing our religious beliefs, but we had to do that in secrecy. Um, but there's two different code words, so Morano and conversos. Um, but the demonstration of mixed noble will basically show his what we would call today white or Slavic or that lineage, or basically saying that a mixed noble is one outside of the realm of nobility, right? So um, if we go back to, and I want to also show how that ties into, if we go to Morano's part two,
Okay.
ties into the Hebrew bloodline over here in America. So, and this is about the Cherokees. So I found this some months ago on the AmericanMuslim.org, and I was on this website because I was looking for ways to connect the Salat to from the Quran to the Bible back into ancient Kemet. And the Salat not being just a Muslim practice is actually a form of meditation. But so it says the Cherokee religion was best preserved for more than a century in isolated Indiana group because the Christian and United States governmental drive to stamp out the Cherokee religion in Oklahoma has significant success. My great uncle went from the other group near Hillsboro, Indiana in 1903 at the age of 22 down to Oklahoma, where the formal religious training was headquartered. The traditions were also maintained by the Eastern Band in North Carolina, but contact among the various groups of Cherokees gradually was lost during the century after the Great Removal. The tradition of Aniwaya is that the almost nomadic history of the Cherokees should teach that the religion and culture are independent of both place and time because they are gifts to all humankind. In 1905, after Franklin Joseph Beaver had studied for 2 years at the seminary in Oklahoma, the United States government abolished the Cherokee religion and imprisoned everyone who performed the Salah publicly. What this all means is open to modern research and interpretation. There is now thorough documentation of a great expedition of Dawa that the Emir of Mali, Abu Bakr, sent across the Atlantic in 1310 AC after he met Chinese Muslims in the Hajj. Scholars do not seem to be clear on whether he was hoping to bring Islam to China or to America, because there is evidence that at least two earlier Muslim expeditions had visited America, one in 1100 going westward from Africa, and the other in 1178 eastward from China. When the first expedition did not return, Emir Abu Bakr sent a second expedition 2 years later in 1312, reportedly including Mandinga members from what is now Liberia. The detailed manifest of each of the Emir's ships are now of historical record. In recent years, hidden libraries have been found in Timbuktu on the southern edge of the Sahara Desert in Mali. I attended a conference in Mali's capital, Bamako, in 1999, but could not get permission to travel the 200 miles north to Timbuktu because I was told the French influenced government in Bamako wants to hide its great Islamic past. These libraries should be microfilmed while they still exist in order to compare the practices of popular Islam with those of the Cherokees. All right, so let me see. Let's go back to the Columbus and Zarco email, and then scroll down to the Wikipedia slide that says history with the statue of Christopher Columbus or Salvador Fernandez Zarco.
You say go back to the first one or this one?
Nah, the first one, Columbus and Zarco.
Hey, brother, I got a question. So you trying to say? So you saying not trying, but you saying Christopher Columbus was not a Spaniard? He was like half Moor, half Jew. That's what you saying? What you saying?
Yeah, he was Portugal. He was from Portugal. He was Portuguese.
Okay, so that's half Moorish and half Portuguese, or half Moorish, half Spanish, correct? Mixed Portuguese, correct?
Yeah, the Jews in that area were the Sephardic Jews, which were the Sephardic Moors, all up and down that area, the Iberian Peninsula, from going into Spain, Portuguese, and back into North Africa.
And it's crazy you said that his last name was Cologne, because I have a Puerto Rican brother that's last name Cologne too. So you know what I mean? I was like, wow, I ain't know this
Yeah,
is all, man. I ain't know none of this information, man. I appreciate your presentation. I'm sorry for the interruption. Islam.
it's long, bro. So I'm gonna show that Salvador Fernandez Zarco, he was born in Cuba, Portugal, and how that ties back into Moorish science, which is the better half of this presentation. But as you can see, let me try to scroll down. So it says right here that the name Cuba is likely of Arabic origin, pertaining to the Kuba, that is cupola or dome tombs of ascetic spiritual leaders, right?
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, my
Where are you
fault.
at? Where you at?
My fault. Scroll down.
Uh,
Just keep scrolling until you see the statue. Yeah, that one right there. Yep.
right here. Start right here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the name Kuba is likely of Arabic origin, pertaining to the Kuba, that is cupola or dome tombs of ascetic spiritual leaders. Okay, so stop right there. So, um, and when I looked it up on another source, it basically was showing that it means dome as in a dome structure of a tomb or a mausoleum, right? So I think if we scroll down, so basically, in short, what I'm saying is that the island Cuba, what we know as Cuba today, that came from Christopher Columbus. And that it has an Arabic origin, which ties back into Moorish history. So right here in Islamic architecture, or what we know in this time would be Moorish architecture, a kuba uh, refers to a dome structure, often a tomb or a mausoleum. Right, and all right, so that's a segue into the next presentation. So just go to if we go back and then we go to the email that says mausoleums. Yes, sir. So a mausoleum are used by people of various faiths. And so it lists Islam, Judaism, some traditions within Christianity, which I'm pretty sure our group could speculate Coptic Christianity when they're highlighting and saying some traditions with Christianity. And then and then they say, and Buddhism as places of burial or memorialization. Right. So they also list a little bit down further where underneath it says Islam. It says mausoleums are often called mazars or dargahs. Okay. Um, and then I believe on this same, we scroll down a little. Oh no, right in the same paragraph, it highlights that they're used to honor important figures such as Sufi masters and family members. And so how Mafia already taught us that Sufi, when you see Sufi, you should think mystic. When you see mystic, you should think Sufism in that order, right? So that got my mind to moving and got me to thinking. I'm like, okay, well, if that be the case, that sounds like ancient Egypt um, with the high priest. Sounds like that goes together. So in other words, a mausoleum is the Islamic or the mystic structure for the honorable burial, resting place, or memorial of their high priest or royal family. That's my own notes right there that I'm reading. Um, yeah, so I was kind of just connecting all of that together and was like, man, that's crazy. So if we scroll down, if you keep scrolling down and you look at the structures of the mausoleums. And from what we've been taught and what we know through architecture, this is more science with the different shapes. We got the pillars, we got the different shapes, we got the squares, the triangles, the circles. If we scroll down a little bit more, that's a beautiful one right there. I like that one. Um,
Don't you see the White House at the White House? Same get up,
yeah,
right?
so yeah, same structure at the White House. Same structure at the White House. So one could almost speculate uh, well, not even speculate because we know Benjamin Banneker Bay is the one who was the architecture of that structure. But that structure, who knows how many other structures just been here for thousands of years that resemble this exact layout or something similar to it, you know? So, um, yeah, so hold on real quick. All right, so if we scroll down, so that just kind of got my mind to shaking and moving. And this will tie in back into Grand Sheik's presentation today, man. So we have more MAUR, High Priest of Anu. So I'm gonna actually turn on my camera, and I wrote it. Hopefully, all right. Can you see what's on my screen? All right, so I wrote it on my whiteboard.
See it.
So we have same thing with the picture showing. So we have more or MR, which would be the hieroglyph of more, which would mean high priest of Anu, and then Anu, Nubians. We just removed that the vowel, Anu, Nubians, talking about us. You know what I'm saying? The pyramids. We all know that this is not the real name of the structures, but and its true name would be the same hieroglyph right here, MR, or with the vowels mer or more. And then so I just got to clicking and thinking like, okay, so all of these different variations of spellings of more are just different time periods which our people have existed and passed down the science to one another in these ancient temples or these schools of mystery or schools of science or schools of thought and where we've built. And so more would be the last recognition or recognizable name on the books that we have, as far as the last empire that we had was Islamic, in which we brought the Kemetic science with us through Islam and uh, erected buildings and civilization and underneath the paradigm of Islam. But we can go all the way back and look at these different spellings of Moor and find a different civilization that was erected, but quite similar to those of still the ancient times. And so I had watched this video by C. Freeman L, who was breaking down Freemason. And so we talking about the mounds and the pyramids, which we know are mirrors or Moors, but we're also talking about mounds and pyramids would equate to builders, which would equate to a mason, or in the Germanic sense, a Freemason would be a Freimaurer, and that's how you would spell it, Freimauer, Freimaurer, or Freemore is basically what they're saying. And uh, Mafia already showed that to us today in the presentation. So it just went hand in hand, man. So, um, and then on top of that, hold on, I think I lost video. Did I lose video?
Still showing it's frozen, but it's still showing the whiteboard, but it's frozen though.
Hold on, let me I'm gonna bring the app back up. Here go the app. Okay. It's asking me to, I don't know why it's
Back.
asking me to do this.
It's back now. It's live.
Okay, cool. Why can't I'm trying to swap my video over? Well, here we go. I don't know how to, I don't know. So, but basically that's the presentation. I was just tying everything in together and man, everything was just coming together.
That's a great demonstration. It's real quick. What email was that with the showing the Cuba? Showing
That was
Cuba, the domes?
the mausoleums.
Yeah, I wanna what I say? What a mausoleum. Oh, yeah, I want to reemphasize that because there was certain things you said in that I feel like needs to be in the forefront of people's mind. You said it was mausoleums? I mean, no, Cuba, the word Cuba,
No, oh, Cuba?
the Cuba.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Uh, that one is keep scrolling to the top. I think no, okay, it's not that one. It's Columbus and Zarco.
Okay,
Yeah, it's Columbus. That one was on Wikipedia. That one's
okay,
at the bottom.
okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
So so it's two levels of the Cuba thing, right? Christopher Columbus was from Cuba in Portugal. He named that island Cuba. He named it that. That's one. But Cuba anciently is dealing with the domes on top of the temples, those copper domes that got the electrical grid for the city, the EMF, electromotive force. The reason why it's a base metal. So that's another level. So when we're dealing with the Sufi movement, and like I tied in earlier, the woolly hair ones, but the woolly hair ones built structures like these. And the top of this Moorish architecture, this dome right here, is a kuba, and it's copper. It's magnetic. It's one of the base metals and how we got electricity in the noble palaces. And once again, when you see paintings of our rulers in that area, whether they're Christian Moors or Muslims, because later these things became churches, cathedrals for churches. But and it, when the Sufis had control, there was ancient temples, what they call mosques. Um, but they have these balls in their hand, and these paintings, they got this ball in their hand. That ball that you see in the noble's hand controlled the transceiver to activate this dome, or the many of the domes in the area, which gave light to the whole city or the nation state, electricity to the nation state. So I wanted to highlight that. There's two levels of the Cuba thing going on. Um, so I'm gonna read a passage in the Holy Book dealing with religion because I feel it was fitting to what we're talking about. Because that's all we were talking about today, for the most part, is religion anciently, what that meant for us. Um, but that was an excellent demonstration. Before I move on, I want to say great job. I think that was your first demonstration, so that was an excellent first time at bat. You definitely knocked it out the park.
Thank you, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the demonstration.
Oh, before I move
But
forward,
yeah,
any
I was gonna say
thoughts?
the same thing. Did anybody have any questions?
Yeah, any thoughts,
Yeah,
statements?
yeah, I wanted to make a comment about your demonstration. It made me think a little more deeper, and then circling back to what Mafi said about Cuba and the domes there, the dome structures. It made me think how in contemporary times people often associate Cuba and those Caribbean islands as being primitive. However, it made me think that they probably never had to change their their way of living because of the technology they had back then. So, due to outside influences, like tampering with the culture, it made the people look as though they were primitive. But in fact, they were probably already using ancient technology. That's why they never had to build the infrastructure that would charge the people, a tremendous amount of fiat just to have the basic necessities. It just made me think that maybe these people are still living in a time where they don't need today so and so technology. You get what I'm saying? It just made me think in that aspect of how Cuba is still here today. Still here today. It's not gone anywhere. People still there and living the way that they've been living 30, 40, 50 years ago. It just made me think. I'm just thinking outside the box, guys. Anyway, Islam, I'm yielding.
Islam. Appreciate that, man. Uh, any other thoughts, statements, comments on the demonstration today?
Islam, could I be heard?
Islam.
Yeah,
Stern Mayat Bay, Islam.
Islam, brother. I also wanted to add to the domes created an acoustics inside of the building that was resonant frequency to promote the spiritual, whatever spiritual goal they were trying to achieve.
Uh, yield. Okay. Did you yield? You yield. Okay. Anybody else got any statements, comments before I move forward? Okay, so I'm gonna read a chapter in the Quran, Circle 7, and then I'm gonna close out, and then I want to talk about the land trust, different developments and different options for us regarding the land trust, fundraising, etc. After we close out, right? So we're activating chapter 35, holy instructions from the prophet. Topic dealing with religion. There is but one Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. The Son is not Allah, though his noblest image. He enlighteth the world with his brightness. His warmth giveth life to the products of the earth. Admire him as the creature, the instrument of Allah, or worship him not. To the one who is supreme, most wise and beneficent, and to him alone belong worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise, who hath stretched forth the heavens with his hands, who hath described with his finger the course of stars, who setteth bounds the ocean, that it cannot pass, and saith unto the stormy winds, Be still, who shaketh the earth, and the nations tremble, who dareth his lightnings, and the wicked are dismayed, who calleth forth worlds by the words of his mouth, who smiteth with his arm, and they sink into nothing. O reverence the majesty of Omnipotent, and temper not his anger, lest thou be destroyed. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruled and directeth with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature come forth to his will. In the depth of his mind, he revolveth all knowledge. The secrets of
Future.
futurity lie upon before him, lie open before him. The thoughts of thy heart are naked to his view. He knoweth thy determination before they are made. With respect to his persistence or
Presents.
prescience, there is nothing contingent. With respect to his providence, there is nothing accidental. Wonderful is he in all his ways. His counsels are inscrutable. The manner of his knowledge transcendeth thy conception. Pay therefore to his wisdom all honor and veneration, and bow down thyself in humble and submissive obedience to his supreme discretion. Pay therefore to his wisdom. No, the Father is gracious and beneficent. He hath created the world in mercy and love. His creatures of his hand declare his goodness, and their enjoyments speak of his praise. He clothed them with beauty. He supporteth them with food. He preserveth them with pleasure from generation to generation. If we lift up our eyes to the heavens, his glory shineth forth. If we cast them down to the earth, it is full of his goodness. The hills and the valleys rejoice and sing. Fields, rivers, and woods resound in praise. But thee he hath distinguished with particular favor. But thee he hath distinguished with peculiar favor, and exalted thy station above all creatures. Right? But thee he hath imbued thee with reason to maintain thy dominion. He hath fitted thee with language to improve thy society, and exalted thy mind with the powers of meditation, to contemplate and adore his inimitable perfections. And in the laws he hath ordained as the rule of life, so kindly hath he united thy duty to thy nature, that obedience to his precepts is happiness to thyself. O praise his goodness with songs and thanksgiving, and meditate in silence on the wonders of his love. Let thy heart overflow with the gratitude and acknowledgement. Let the language of thy lips speak praise and adoration. Let the actions of thy life show thy love to his law. Allah is just and righteous, and will judge the earth with equity. Equity means fairness and truth. Hath he established his laws in goodness and mercy, and shall he not punish the transgressors thereof? O think not, bold men, because thy punishment is delayed, the arm of Allah is weakened. Neither flatter thyself with hopes that he winketh at thy doing. So if you're doing wrong, he don't think it's, Allah, the universe don't think it's cute. Karma will take its place. The hermetic laws will take its place. His eye pierceth the secrets of every heart, and he remembereth them forever. He respecteth not the persons or the stations of men. So titles don't matter. The high and the low, the rich and the poor, the wise and the ignorant. When the soul hath shaken off the cumbrous shackles of this mortal life, shall equality receive from the sentence of just and everlasting retribution according to their works. Your works. That's all that matters, your works. Then shall the wicked tremble and be afraid, but the heart of the righteous shall rejoice in his judgment. O fear Allah, therefore, all the days of thy life, and walk in the path which he hath opened before thee. Let prudence admonish thee, let temperance restrain thee, let justice guide thy hand, benevolence warm thy heart, and gratitude to heaven inspire thee with devotion. These shall give thee happiness in thy present state, and bring thee to the mansion of eternal felicity in the paradise of Allah. This is the true economy of human life. The true economy of human life. So I felt this was a great chapter to tie a bow on what is religion for the nobles. You know, we started off by saying the Freemasons, the sun people, the children of the sun. And then we did a whole demonstration of showing that we're not worshiping the sun, though we realize it's the noblest image. We also understand that the sun is with us, within us. The light is within us. We can illuminate the world and be the cultivators. That's what the light does, right? That's what the sun does for the earth. It cultivates the fertile soil. And all of a sudden, these crops are growing in springtime, right? So once we get the light, we gotta water the soil of our people that don't got this information. Give them a little light. Give them something to compare to. They might have been in darkness and never even had an arm's reach the light. Somebody give them the light. Now they motivated. All right, I'm gonna close out in prayer and get into this land trust situation. You can fine tune that, reach our political agenda. Allah, Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. So let me stop the recording.